Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that, let's be honest, can feel pretty intimidating for a lot of us: saving for retirement. We're going to unpack this idea of naive investing straight from the seventh chapter of the book, Nudge, and figure out why our own brains can sometimes be our worst enemy when it comes to money.
All right, so let's just jump right in. This question, it used to be a lot simpler, but now the game has totally changed. The massive responsibility of building a nest egg for your future, well, it's been dropped squarely in our laps. And frankly, it's a giant maze of really complicated decisions.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the human problem, why this is so darn hard in the first place. Then we'll get into two huge mistakes we tend to make: getting emotional and taking bad shortcuts. And stick around for the end because we're going to talk about the fix: building a smarter system. Yeah, the whole landscape of saving for retirement has been turned upside down. It's like we've been handed the keys to our own financial future, which sounds great, right? But we've also been handed this super complicated instruction manual written in a different language. See, back in the day, a lot of people had what's called a defined benefit plan. Basically, your company handled your pension, and they guaranteed you a certain amount of money when you retired. It was their problem to worry about. But now, most of us are in defined contribution plans, like a 401k. We're in the pilot seat, which means if something goes wrong, it is our problem. And this is just a little taste of the complexity we're talking about. I mean, look at these questions. In the world of Nudge, a perfectly rational, computer-like econ would just crunch the numbers and get the perfect answer. But for the rest of us, for us humans, it's just completely overwhelming. Okay, let's dive into the first big mistake we all make: letting our feelings take the wheel. Our gut instincts are great for a lot of things, but as we're about to see, they can seriously lead us astray with our money. So let me introduce you to Vince. Vince is glued to his phone, checking his portfolio every single day. Now, here's the thing about our brains. Losing $50 hurts about twice as much as finding $50 feels good. So for Vince, all these little daily ups and downs are an absolute emotional roller coaster. It makes him miserable, and it makes him terrified of the stock market. Now, on the flip side, here's his friend, Rip. Rip gets it. He knows retirement investing isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. We're talking decades, not days. So he puts his money in stocks, and then he just leaves it alone. He knows that historically, the longer you stay invested, the more likely you are to come out way ahead. And you know what? He sleeps like a baby. And this isn't just theory. Look at this data. It shows where people were putting their new retirement money. Back at the very peak of the dot-com bubble in 2000, when stocks were super expensive, everyone piled in. 74% of new money went into stocks. Then the market crashed, and what happened? People got scared and pulled back. We get greedy when prices are high and fearful when they're low. We are literally wired to buy high and sell low, the exact opposite of what you should do. Now, because all of this is so complex, our brains, which are brilliant, by the way, they create mental shortcuts to make life easier. And usually that's great. But when it comes to investing, these simple little rules of thumb can backfire big time. And get this, it's not just us regular folks. This is a quote from Harry Markowitz. The guy won a Nobel Prize for creating modern portfolio theory. The super complex math behind investing. And even he admitted that for his own retirement, he just used a simple 50-50 split. He took a shortcut. This leads to a really common mental trap called the 1/n heuristic. Sounds fancy, but it's simple. If your job offers you 5 funds, you put 20% in each. If they offer 10 funds, you put 10% in each. You're just splitting it evenly. But see the problem? Your entire investment strategy is being dictated by how many choices they give you, not by what those choices actually are. It's naive diversification. Okay, I love this experiment. Researchers did a test with trick-or-treaters. When kids went to 2 different houses, and each house offered a choice between 2 candies, less than half of them bothered to get one of each. But when they went to one house that just said, take any 2 candies you want from these big piles, every single kid took one of each. The choices were the same, but the way they were presented completely changed the outcome. So, a Halloween candy experiment is fun. But this same flawed thinking can have absolutely tragic results in the real world. I want to tell you about a man named Charlie Prestwood. He was a loyal, hardworking employee at a company you've probably heard of, Enron. And he had built up a nest egg worth more than $1 million. Charlie was the definition of a company man. He spent his whole career there. And the company was always pushing its employees to buy company stock. So Charlie, thinking he was doing the right thing, the loyal thing, he poured everything he had, his entire retirement savings, into Enron stock. And then Enron collapsed. You know the story. It was one of the biggest scandals in corporate history. And Charlie's $1.3 million nest egg? It went to zero. Nothing. In a flash, he lost his job and every penny he had saved for retirement. Now, here's the part that should really get your attention. Charlie's story, as heartbreaking as it is not some rare exception. Right now, there are an estimated 5 million Americans who have more than 60% of their retirement savings tied up in their own company stock. That's a massive risk. You're tying your paycheck and your retirement to the fate of just one company.
So, what do we do? If our brains are just wired to make these kinds of mistakes, are we all doomed? Well, no. The answer isn't to try to make everyone a financial genius overnight. The answer, the nudge answer, is to build a better system, to design a smarter architecture. And that brings us to this key idea, choice architecture. Think about it. An architect designs a building to help you find your way around easily. A choice architect does the same thing for decisions. For investing, it means we can design a system that's more forgiving and helpful for us regular humans. And one of the most powerful tools in the toolbox is a better default option. So instead of giving people a confusing menu of 50 different funds, plans can offer simple, brilliant defaults. A target date fund is a great example. You just pick the year you think you'll retire, and the fund does all the hard work, automatically getting safer as you get older. It's like putting your portfolio on autopilot, in a good way.
You can put this all together in a really elegant system. Think of it in tiers. Tier 1 is for everyone who just says, please just tell me what to do. They get put into a fantastic, simple default fund. Tier 2 is for people who want a little more control. They get a handful of great prepackaged options. And Tier 3? That's the whole menu, the whole shebang for the experts who want to get their hands dirty. It's a system that works for everyone. So that's our deep dive into naive investing. And really, the big takeaway here is that instead of trying to fight our own human nature, we can just build smarter systems. With a few thoughtful nudges and better choice architecture, we can protect ourselves from our own worst instincts. And that leaves us with one final big question to ask yourself. Is your retirement plan designed for a perfect calculating econ, or is it designed for a real live human?